So 23 minutes after 6. Thanks so much for tuning into Morning Live. Let's get into the interactive part of the show, starting with our question of the day. And this morning we're asking you on your views following the announcement that religious gatherings, churches, synagogues, mosques of no more than 50 people will be allowed during level 3 of the lockdown. So what other activities do you believe could also be allowed under similarly strict conditions? We will be speaking later on after 6:30 to the Restaurant Association of South Africa, because they are saying they should also be allowed to operate. So what do you make of that? Gyms, other activities, other business activities. Do you believe that they should also be allowed to open under strict conditions? Please let us know your views at Morning Live SABC, and please use the hashtag Morning Live SABC, and we'll share some of your views as we progress throughout the morning.
All right. Looking forward to hearing from you. Why not throw hair salons in there, Sakina? Please. We can't anymore. It's killing me here. Anyway, all right, let's have a look at some of the stories of the day now. Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga is expected to assess the state of readiness for schools to reopen on the 1st of June as she visits various schools in Tshwane.
A briefing by the National Coronavirus Command Council to unpack regulations that will be in place when the country moves to level 3 of the national lockdown is now scheduled for 2 p.m. this afternoon, following at least 2 postponements earlier in the week.
You think it's going to happen?
You know my view.
I know your view. It happens when it happens.
It will happen when it happens. Yeah,
you're right.
I wait for that.
Okay, 2 p.m. is what we've been told for today. So we continue getting reactions to yesterday's Pretoria High Court judgment that declared former SAA chairperson Dudu Myeni a delinquent director in terms of the Companies Act.
And operations at the SABC's KwaZulu-Natal offices are expected to resume on Friday after the building had to be temporarily closed following an incorrect positive COVID-19 test result that one of the Durban Diagnostic Laboratories gave one of the SABC's employees.
And here are those numbers for you. 0800 029 999. That's a 24-hour hotline for COVID-19. And the WhatsApp service is 0600 123 456.
And as usual, we break down those numbers for you. Looking at the provincial breakdown, the Western Cape, 16,893 positive cases of COVID-19, followed by Gauteng at 3,167. The Eastern Cape now on 3,047. KwaZulu-Natal 2,186. The Free State has 221 positive cases. Limpopo 141. Mpumalanga 106. The Northwest 128. And the Northern Cape, the only province still below 100 with 48 positive cases.
All right, then let's look at your tests that have been conducted so far. 634,996. Confirmed cases, 25,937. Recoveries, 13,451, which means that the active cases are 11,934 in South Africa currently. And the death toll, unfortunately, is now sitting at 552. Let's look at the global picture. 5.69 million. It's up almost 100,000 cases in the world. That's the infection rate. The recoveries are sitting at 2.35 million, and the death rate now for COVID-19 is 356,000 cases worldwide. That's up 1,485 for the deaths. But the real concerning one is, of course, the United States. And we saw, as when we were sleeping, they, of course, were bringing out figures, and we saw now that their death toll has gone over 100,000 people for COVID-19. Their infection rate is still sitting at 1.7 million. That's up 16,700 in just a day.
Right, moving on to those trending topics. First up, hashtag SANDF. And this relating to the death of Colin Khoza. You remember Leanne in Alexandra. Yeah. And of course, members of the SANDF were implicated allegedly in that, and we are told that apparently, according to an internal investigation, those members who were implicated have been cleared. So that, of course, gaining some traction.
A lot of traction. And just to read one or two of the tweets, this one coming through, Dr. Sitembele Mbete saying, Khoza's family must sue the out of the state. The cause of death is blunt force head injury. The injuries on the body of Mr. Khoza cannot be linked with the cause of death. Consequently, the board concluded that the death of Mr. Khoza was not caused by the SANDF members. I mean, outrage, of course, pouring out from everybody after those findings, and just, a story that can't go away. It mustn't go away. The family must be devastated, and it certainly isn't something that they want to read when they were there to witness what had happened. So, let's keep that one very much so on the radar.
Indeed. Moving on to the next one, hashtag George Floyd, and this following on from yesterday, the protests in Minneapolis following that murder of George Floyd in being publicly broadcast as captured by bystanders. And of course, this is still all the rage and all the talk in the United States, Leah.
It really did. And I like the way you say murder, because I'm not sure there needs to even be an investigation. That was cold-blooded murder. It really was. And, the story behind it, the fact that it was alleged that he was trying to make a transaction at a superstore or a store with something that was counterfeit, which turned out to be false anyway. And we saw those videos that were doing the rounds on social media of a police officer standing on George Floyd's neck. That is cold-blooded murder. There is no other way to describe it. A devastating story that everybody's still speaking to.
Yeah.
And then the final one, as we move into their news headlines, Dudu Myeni, and that, of course, is the story of Dudu Myeni, former SAA chief, that of course she's now been declared a delinquent and is not able to serve in any capacity again in that position. So we're going to, I think, talk a little bit more about that. Am I right, Sakina?
Indeed. We will be speaking to Outa about this particular outcome, and of course many would say welcome result, but what about others? Because now you've opened yourself up as Outa. Are you going to stop at Dudu Myeni, or are you now going to follow up and have others who have been guilty of similar, or some would say even worse offences? Are you going to pursue the avenue of having them declared delinquent directors for life? So all of those questions are still up in the air, and we'll speak to Outa about that later on in the show. Right. But now, 6:30 it is.